What blows my mind about cassava, after I did so much research about it, around 800 million people worldwide depend on cassava for their primary source of food today. That's not a small amount. That's not a small number. So if they do it, why not us? So I gotta take a seat for this one so I can give you the history of why you need cassava in your backyard. Cassava is becoming very trendy these days because, of course, internet information spread. But you need to know a little bit more on why you should have cassava in your backyard. People have been growing it for over 10,000 years. The indigenous people of South America figured out how to cultivate it, how to process it safely, and it became one of the most important food sources. Then in about 1500s, Portuguese traded it and brought it to Africa. And from there, it spread it to Asia and basically everywhere in the tropics, including Florida. And here's what just blows my mind. It is the third largest source of carbohydrates in the tropics, right behind my favorite, rice, and number 2, corn. What does it turn into? Basically everything you can think of. It is the most versatile plant that you can grow, and you can do so much with it, because in West Africa, they make it into fufu, which is a soft dough you can eat with soups and with your stews. In Brazil, though, they toast the flour into something called farofa. That goes on top of basically everything. But if you know tapioca, that comes from, you guessed it, cassava. If you like bubble tea, those little chewy pearls, cassava. It is also becoming huge in gluten-free baking products because cassava works as a substitute in bread, in cookies, in pizza, and in crust. In the house, my mom called it manioc, or sometimes she says yuca. When I said cassava, she was like, no, it's not cassava, it's the bread. Whatever, I'm not gonna argue with her. She said it's yuca, I'm gonna go with that. So it's not something I didn't know about. It's just something we grew on. I just didn't appreciate it back then as a kid. Now that I know I can grow this myself, what you think I'm doing? I'm putting y'all on game too. Let's go. And after the last video, the comments came through. You guys asked what it tastes like, how do you cook it, how do you grow it, where do you find it, and if it's even worth the effort. Today, I'm answering all your questions. Welcome back. I am Tony. I grow here in Central Florida, Zone 10A. And what does it taste like? It wasn't until I went to a Spanish restaurant and I ordered Yuca fries with, I think it was with shredded beef. And when I tell you, it changed my life. It was crunchy, but yet the inside was soft and buttery. It was better than any French fry I ever had. So I cannot compare it to French fries because it's 10 times better. I'm sorry. Don't come for me. It is better. You can't tell me it's not. The closest thing I can compare it to is a potato, but denser and starchier. It's not sweet. It's not bitter. It's kind of mild on its own, which means it can take up whatever seasoning really well. 1 cup of cooked cassava is around 200 to 300 calories. It's almost all carbs. So that is not a light snack. That is a full meal. How do you grow it? Guys, when I tell you this is one of the easiest plants to grow, I'm not kidding. Because cassava is a tropical plant, it loves heat, it tolerates drought, and it doesn't ask for much. It produces a ridiculous amount of food. We're talking about one plant's going to give you 10 to 20, sometimes 30 pounds of root from a single plant per plant. So you don't grow it from the seed, you grow it from a stem cutting. So you need a piece of the woody stalk about 8 to 12 inches long, and you just stick it in the ground. That is it. You water it in and mostly leave it alone, and it just do what it needs to do. Now, there's a few ways to put it in the ground. If you stick it in vertically, straight up and down, or at an angle, you tend to get fewer roots, but they grow deeper. If you bury it horizontally, laying the whole cutting flat a few inches down, you get more roots, but they spread out shallower. We are planting both. I have some in the back as planted horizontally, and as you can see behind me, I have some that's going vertically. So all depends on your spacing and how much size you have to grow, because you want to give it about 3 to 4 feet of space in every direction. It gets big, and I'm kind of pushing it here. I don't think I have the 3 to 4 feet, but we'll see. Now, cassava takes about 8 to 12 months to be ready to harvest. They are big crops, guys. These are not the little things. They're not going to grow fast. They're not little potatoes. It needs the time, so leave it alone. So one thing I want to make sure that's very clear is that once you harvest, the clock starts immediately. 1 to 2 days immediately. So you got about a day, maybe two, to cook it before it starts to turn. You start to see these dark streaks run through the flesh, and that's your sign that it is going bad. So you don't harvest it and let it sit on the counter like a potato. Plan to cook it, freeze it right away, and you'll be fine. I am still eating from my cassava plants that we pulled 6 months ago, but I was able to freeze it. I cut them up into the size that I wanted, and now I just pop them in the air fryer when I'm ready to eat them, and they are easy to go. I just wish I had more. Plant more. If you think you're gonna plant 2, plant more. I love these plants. So the great thing about cassava plants, these leaves, I don't know if you can see it, the leaves are edible too. So you have to cook them the same rules as the roots, but once you do, that is where the real nutrients is hiding. The roots is giving you your calories, your carbs, your fuel, but the leaves, that is your protein. That's where you get your iron, your vitamin A, your vitamin C, your calcium, all in the same plant. So while the roots is filling underground, the leaves are filling nutrient gaps, especially if meat isn't a big part of your diet. It's not just one thing, it's the whole food system in one plant. So in zone 10A, we grow them here year round. If you have a frost like last time, they'll come right back. Again, the one in the garden, we cut it down before the last cold, and now it's popping and producing. You can see the flowers are coming right back. So a lot of you guys want to grow them in pots. So if you're not getting a 15 or 20 gallon pot, you're not going to get the same 20 pounds of roots in the container. You might get 2 to 5 pounds, but there's still real food from your yard. So don't sleep on it. You can grow them in pots. You just need a 15 to 25 gallon. The bigger, the better. The roots need somewhere to go, and a small pot will just stunt the whole plant before it even gets going. One of the big things I will mention here is that drainage is everything for cassava. It doesn't like to be sitting in water. It doesn't like if it's just overwatered. So if that pot isn't draining, the roots, it will rot before you ever get to harvest them. So how do you cook it? First thing first, cassava has to be cooked. You cannot eat it raw. That is not something you want to skip. I'm telling you, for your health, for your belly, because raw cassava contains a compound that breaks down into cyanide when it's digested. And I'm not about to let that happen to you and have you learn the hard way. Cook it, always. The most basic way is to peel it, cut it into chunks, boil it in salted water. And once it's like fork tender, just like you cook a potato, it is ready. So about 30 minutes, that is it. You can eat it just like that. If you want to eat it just boiled and you add it as a side dish, you can eat it just like that. You can throw it into stew, or you can mash it. Garlic mash is another one of my favorites. But to get it that crispiness, you have to boil it first and then fry it. I do twice fried. That's how you get that crispy exterior without it being raw in the middle. And then there's everything it gets turned into. So you can do cassava flour, fufu, bami, yuca mojo, you do soup jumu. The list just goes on and on. To find the cuttings, I got mine from my dad. He gave it to me, so you can get them from your neighbors. If you're in South Florida, most people have them sitting in their yard. You can get them from Facebook Marketplace, Etsy. I'll put where I find mine in the description below, but there's somebody near you, especially if you're in Florida, selling them or giving them away. You gotta actually go searching for it, but if you search, it's not hard to find. Just know every time you harvest one, you got new stems to replant. That is the beauty of this plant. It keeps going over and over and over. It is a great perennial plant to have in your yard. Now, most people say, is it really worth growing? After all I just said, yes, it is worth growing. I am trying to grow a grocery store in my backyard. I am trying to find food that feeds my family, that has nutritional value, and I'm actually going to use. Cassava checks every one of those boxes for me. It's calorie dense, it's low maintenance. I talk about a lot about low maintenance plants, and cassava is right up there with top plants that's low maintenance. Cassava deserves a spot in your yard, period. I have it in mine, and I'm never taking it out. I'm adding more space. I'm taking other plants out to put cassava. So I hope I answered all your questions. If you want to know how to work with it in your food forest, or more about plants that's going to do well in your garden, let me grab something for you. I love cassava so much. It is one of my top plants in my Florida grow list here. It is actually number 4 in my book. I love it so much, guys. And I talk about the history and just more about the nutritional value of this plant. If you just want to go deeper into learning about 50 plus plants. At this point, I have 56 plants in this book. And it talks about all of the plants that do not require much work here in Florida. Cassava is on the top 5. So grab your copy wherever you grab your books. I'll put the link in the description below so you can grab yours and get planting. So you have no excuse to grow filling foods in your own backyard. So let me know in the comments below, are you adding this to your garden this season? I would love to know. And if you have, what is your favorite dish to make with cassava? Because this separates the conversation between gardening for a hobby and gardening to feed your family. Don't forget to subscribe so you can get all of the plants that's going to help your garden thrive here in Florida. Until next time, thanks for watching.